Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. This morning, I have the true honor and privilege of speaking with Rutgers Newark Scarlet Raiders head coach Ashley Cieplicki and the College of Mount St. Vincent head coach Phil Stern. Unofficially yesterday, the first husband and wife, head coaches to face off against each other. Thank you so much, Coach Cieplicki and Coach Stern, for again taking some time out to speak with me this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Okay, I have to ask you. It said, when you guys saw this game, it was going to be on the schedule, for this year. What came to your mind, first and foremost?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We didn't know what to think at first. A year ago or a year and a half ago, it sounded like a great idea, right? We were going to do something for charity. We ended up doing a fundraiser for SNAR Animal Rescue, where we actually rescued one of our puppies from, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it was fun to talk about the game for about a year, but then when it got here yesterday, kind of got a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I looked at it differently. I didn't really, everyone kept asking, like, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like? But at the end of the day, it was just another game. I focused on my team and we focused on what we were doing. I think I looked down at him like twice maybe and had some interaction, but it really wasn't any different than another game,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next, is that you're standing apart there on the sidelines and just what that, environment is like, for both of you.
It was different at the first couple of minutes. I was like, what are we doing here? How competitive is this going to be?
Yeah.
And then I think the first bad call by an official, we both kind of got up, and that made it really competitive, and that made it more of a normal game. But the best part was we had so many family and friends there to support us. So it ended up being a real family affair and just a really nice afternoon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that just that atmosphere at the Peter J. Sharp Center in the Bronx, having fans back, family there. I mean, just you talk about, several months, a year's difference of, where we were, especially with this COVID-19 pandemic. And now here to have, that environment, that electricity back, just I'm sure it meant, so much to both of you yesterday.
Yeah, and we played 3 games this week. He hasn't played one since last week, but we had no fans in our first 2 games. So my girls were, they were so excited to have family be able to come and watch them. Some of them, because we did get to play last year, their families have never seen them play in college yet. So it was really, really nice to have some people there.
Yeah, and there's some restrictions too in the city. One of her players wasn't there. But we you have to be vaccinated to get on our campus. You have to be vaccinated to get on our gym, and all the fans have to be masked. The players on the bench have to be masked. So it's not quite back to normal, but it is nice to have fans and to have the smell of popcorn in the gym and everything's back.
So just talk about this week leading up to the game. Just preparing for it. Both of your teams, just what the, vibe was around, and then even around campus as well for both schools. I had to ask you about that.
I think for us, my team knows Phil really well, so they were really excited to play him. They joke with him, they have a good time with him. So I think that was really fun for them. But again, like I said, we had 3 games this week, so we kind of weren't even really focused on that till Friday. So it was kind of a tough week for us overall, but they were super pumped to go there and get to play against him.
Yeah, and our team, we only have 3 returning players, so a lot of them haven't even met Ashley yet, and so they were more excited because of the hype around it. They were more excited for me, and they wanted to know, where I was going to sleep if we won or lost and everything home that night. Our campus got really into it. It was very exciting. Our president, Dr. Burns, was there and rooting both teams on. Ashley got to meet her. I was excited about that. And there was a great vibe on our campus. And I think it was a great day for women's basketball.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Just talk about the game. It was a close game yesterday. You came out on top, Coach Stern, your team. So I'd ask you, before I get to that, is that just game day? It's like, preparing, in the morning, going through your routine, and then of course, I believe an afternoon game there. Just talk about that. I had to ask you.
Well, he had a super busy day. So he had the game and then they had their Hall of Fame dinner that night too.
Okay.
So he was out of the door at like 8 a.m.
Right.
And I didn't see him till the game and then I didn't see him till 10 o'clock at night. But
Okay.
we saw each other that morning. We were just like, all right, see you later. It was good to get a new dog sitter for the dogs. But yeah, it was just kind of your typical.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was like, well, what time you getting there? She's like, I don't know, I'm dealing with dogs right now, and we were texting throughout the morning. She told me when they were on their way and when they were arriving and everything. I had a little surprise for them waiting in their locker room. I had put up some wedding pictures and some pictures of us, and I was in their locker room. I think their kids enjoyed that. And then before the game, we hung out a little bit. Our staffs interacted a little bit. We saw a lot of our friends and family prior to the game.
Yeah.
And then once we tipped it off, it was, after the first couple minutes, it was a normal basketball game.
Yeah. So just talk about it said once this game ended, it said you're walking towards each other, so greeting each other. I'm just curious about that moment as well.
Well, it's interesting. In COVID, our Skyline Conference rules, we're not allowed to shake hands. After the game. So everyone, kind of waved. We did before the game take a group picture of both of our teams, which was really nice. And then after the game, we had a dual press conference. Where it was just Ashley and I answering some questions, and then the players afterwards. And then, I think the nicest part was that, when that was all finished, we went down to the hallway and all our friends and family were down there waiting to greet us.
That's great. That's great.
And it was nice because they brought some puppies there too. So even though we lost, we got to be happy with some puppies.
That's great. I don't know if you want to talk about that. Coach Stern, you had mentioned about with the animals, if you want to talk about that. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that out. Yeah.
Sure. Well, one of the big things we wanted to do around this game was something charitable, and we have such a passion for our puppies, Artie and Stella.
Yeah.
And we rescued Artie during the pandemic from Snar Animal Rescue, and we partnered with them. They brought 3 dogs to the game. We sold T-shirts, and all the proceeds will go to the animal rescue. I think we made around $700 or $800 for them yesterday. But everyone was really excited to play with the puppies that they brought, and I'm sure we'll continue the relationship and maybe do it again next year at Rutgers Newark.
That's a great segue. I was like, continuing, this series now, maybe having a game at the Golden Dome, next year would be wonderful as well, especially in New Jersey. I just had to ask you about that, Coach Cieplicki.
Yeah, I would hope so. Definitely, for sure, we would want them back on the schedule again.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, right after the game, I said, I don't want to do it again.
And I said, why?
I think it's hard. Again, if she would have won, I think she would say the same thing. It's harder to win because I don't want to win. It's the reason I never really played against my friends when I was a Division I coach, and you'd rather beat somebody else, or somebody you don't know, or somebody you don't like. You certainly don't want to beat somebody that you live with. It's just a weird feeling,
Yeah.
No,
I think
true.
more too, not that I ever coached against my dad, but I played for my dad. So I kind of understand the family dynamic in the coaching world. And so maybe it was a little easier for me because I've experienced that with my dad, and I don't know, but it wasn't as big of a deal for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because after the game, I had a million texts. Hey, do you need a place to stay tonight? Things like that. Everyone had a really good sense of humor about it.
That's great. That's great. I had to ask you both of you that preparing for this upcoming season. I said, again, with COVID and just how that was, with your teams and just, training camp and, can you talk about that? I'm, for both of you, what that experience was like.
So we got to play last year. He did not. So I think that benefited us immensely because we had no seniors. So everyone was back from that team. So I think it was really good for us. Rutgers was really strict. We were the first school in the country to have vaccine mandates. So we've been really on top of it. We've had preseason. Once they got to school, we were able to do all of that. I know his school was a little bit more difficult with the city restrictions and everything, but we've been my girls have been together now for 2 years, so just adding the newcomers was a bit of a challenge because the preseason is so short for Division III. But I think it was overall went well for us. Him on the other hand, I think it was a little different.
Yeah, because we didn't play last year. The Skyline Conference canceled fall and winter last year. We did have a condensed spring season. And so, we graduated a couple of kids that didn't get to play their senior year, unfortunately. We brought in a nice group of young ladies and, obviously got together on October 15th and started practicing, and that all went well. But, there are still so many restrictions in the city, indoor masking and obviously everyone needing to be vaccinated, that, we're still heavy into the protocol. Our campus has done a great job. We're 99% vaccinated. Our president, Dr. Burns, has done a great job seeing us through this. So, playing sports is just, icing on the cake right now that we're actually able to play a game and then do something as great as we did yesterday.
That's terrific. What's so impressive is that with, you guys have been able to turn around both I said at Rutgers Newark, Coach Cieplicki, and then, Coach Stern at the College of Mount St. Vincent. I had to ask you that, I said these programs went through growing pains, said before, said you guys arrived, and being able to turn around, it said Coach Cieplicki, win a, NJAC, tournament championship, said a couple of years ago. It said Coach Stern has said, I think first season you had a winning, season. Just talk about those challenges, but again, being able to bring in, said players, said impact players, and, being able to, again, ascend to the top. I just had to ask you about that.
Yeah, I think it's hard, but it's everyone's goal anywhere you go. I think my situation was really unique with what had occurred at Rutgers Newark before I got there. But I think now we have the group of kids that we've had the group of kids that I've loved. I've loved every group that's come through there, whether they were mine or not. We've been really, really lucky with the women we've brought in, and I genuinely love my team, and we have such a nice time together that, we lost yesterday, but it's like, what's this really about? These girls have just gone through so much with the pandemic, and life is changing completely for them. So, we kind of focus on that stuff a little bit more. And then I think that builds the culture for your program. And then you start to build it to where they want to win for you and with you. So I think that we've just continued to try to do that. We're still having some growing pains. We lost a really good player when we won that championship team, but we're getting back there, and the NJAC's always competitive, and I know that we'll be able to fight again this year. So I'm just looking forward to it because I really like this group that we have.
Yeah, and for me, this is my fourth program that I've had to turn around, and been to the Division II tournament, been to the Division I tournament, and this program is unique because it was more about just giving them the template on how to be student athletes, how to be a program. And then I've taken over as the athletic director, and we're trying to do that, comprehensively across the department. And I was fortunate my first year, we had a couple of pretty good players. So we surprised some people and made the playoffs in the Skyline. And, we've kind of continued that same template in the recruiting process through the pandemic, which has been difficult for everybody in college athletics, who's coming back, who's not coming back. But really, it's an attitude, it's a mindset. And the number one thing is it's a family, and you have to get buy-in. And our student athletes, both of us understand that we're here for them at any time. It's about the overall student athlete experience, academics coming first, community service, and then basketball.
Yeah, no, excellent points you made. I mean, the fact that I know both you guys with degrees, are big on that. And they said, you've seen students flourish, said on the academic side, being able to balance that, out as far as academics and athletics as well.
Yeah, it's not easy. I think people think D3 and they think, it's whatever. But I think now he's experienced, every single level, and it's difficult to be a D3 student athlete.
It's interesting because, these kids aren't on scholarship.
Right.
They truly play for the love of the game. That they all have jobs. They all have other things. Some of them don't live on campus. When you're a Division I coach, everything's easy. The kids are on scholarship. You have a lot to hang over their head. You have a lot more resources. And so I have a lot more respect for Division III than I ever had, you don't even have that much time with them on the court.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so to be able to coach them up in a shorter period of time is really difficult.
Yeah. My next question was going to be for you, and I asked a number of coaches, what makes the, coaching so special? I mean, Coach Stern, over 20 years, almost 25 years of experience. Coach Cieplicki, said you've been, now fourth season, it said here as the head coach, I think, at Rutgers Newark. You've coached, said at FDU, it said you've coached, with the Jersey Gym Rats, you coach quite a few teams, it said, or been an assistant coach. I'm just wondering for both of you, just again, just being on those sidelines, what's about it that makes, again, just for you guys, I'm just wondering.
I think it's different at what stage you are in your career. At the beginning, you kind of coach out of desperation and figuring it out. And then once you become established, you coach for the relationships, you coach for the young ladies in your program, you coach for the people in your department and on the greater campus community. At this point of my career, I'm coaching just to give everyone a good experience and to just see the smiles on your face when they do something well, and to make sure that they're achieving all of their hopes and dreams. And Ashley does a lot of the same things, but she's at a different point in her career.
Yeah. But I think it's similar. I think my parents were both teachers. My whole family is from coaching. That's all I've ever known. I saw when I played for my dad in high school, all the relationships he still has with his former players that now their children are playing for him. And I just thought that was so special. And then when I went to college, I had the best experience of my life. And I speak to my teammates every single day. And I just thought being around the college environment was it was so important to my life that I wanted to make it important for other people's lives. And I think that at Rutgers Newark, that's been our emphasis the whole time. Before me, they weren't really a family. And now that's what I aim for first before anything. And, I want to help them for the rest of their lives. And I genuinely mean that. You hear people say that all the time, but I want to go to somebody's wedding later on. I've seen him get to do that hundreds of times. And I think that's such a special thing. And I think that, it's definitely the relationships and just trying to help change lives or help improve lives in any way you can. And I know it sounds cheesy, but, it's genuine. That's how I feel about that.
Great. The growth of women's basketball, we've seen it, especially this past season. I mean, the NCAA tournament, and just, of course, it was more than basketball also. There's equality, it's, it said, social justice. I had to ask you, just from your perspective, both of you, just how the game, again, and Coach Stern, said you've seen it, a number of levels. Just what you see like right now in terms of the game, and then, as said in the future as well here.
Well, you could start with, I started in the 90s coaching Division II basketball, and, we didn't have much then in general. And as the years have gone on, when I was a Division I coach, we had just as much, if not more, as the men's basketball program. We got treated really well. Obviously, women's basketball at the highest level has 15 scholarships, men have 13. But the number one priority of most athletic departments is gender equity, to make sure that the young ladies are taken care of, to make sure that they have everything they need and more, to make sure that the resources on campus understand that men and women sports are just as important. Nobody's more important than anyone else. We inducted 2 women into our Hall of Fame last night that graduated in the 70s. And they talked about how they had nothing, how that as one of them was a catcher on the softball team and had to wear men's baseball catcher's gear. And, we talked about that last night. So for me to see it from the 90s to where it is now, and there are little things that have to happen, like what happened last year at the NCAA tournament, where, that's just silly that the NCAA didn't look at things like that, and shame on them for doing that. But we watched the NCAA softball tournament, which is amazing on ESPN, and we watch sports here all day long. And listen, most of what we watch on TV, she's a huge Diana Taurasi fan. We're watching a lot of WNBA games. here. And you see the excitement the whole country has for women's sports.
I was gonna, off of that,
Yeah.
I actually, as he said, I love Diana Taurasi, so I went to the WNBA finals game in Chicago. And to see the environment there, and I've gone to WNBA games before, but it was different, you know. Shaquille O'Neal was there, Chance the Rapper was there.
Yeah.
You know, people of the city of Chicago was going nuts for it. And it was just so cool to be there. My team didn't win because I love Diana, but it was so, you almost shed a tear when, you know, when the confetti is coming down, and to see men investing in women's sports, I think that that's really where it's gonna start to take off. And I think it's happening. You know, Kobe Bryant really did that for women, and I'm hoping that the other NBA players are going to step up, and they really have started to. I think that's really great. I think it's great when colleges themselves support their teams. So, you know, when I see our men's players, I talk to every single one of them. You know, I try to get involved with them as much as I can, because I think that that's why they're going to support us. So you've got to all be on the same team. And I think it's coming. I think it's slowly changing, but I do see the differences in how it was and where it's going.
And, you know, the ambassadors are so great. We know Gino, and he's the greatest thing that ever happened to women's basketball. You know, we're really good friends with Jen Rosati, who's the brightest person around, and, you know, now the president of the Connecticut Sun. And the game is in such good hands as far as women's basketball is concerned, and it will continue to grow. Yeah,
no, I agree. You know, the fact now you said you have so many, like, you know, with not only social media, but you have also with, you know, TV, you have streaming online. I mean, you know, I said, I know with ESPN Plus, I mean, that's just, I mean, you know, being able to watch games, you know, I said on the computer, especially this past year when I could not, you know, attend and cover games, you know, live. I mean, I was able to sit right in, you know, my basement office and, you know, watch these games and, you know, be able to cover, and then of course do, you know, the Zoom interviews, you know, with interviews with head coaches and players, which was, again, you know, be able to stay on top of that coverage and, you know, give teams, you know, you know, that recognition that they, you know, that they deserve.
Thankfully.
No, and it's great that guys like you are doing that. And that didn't happen 10, 15 years ago.
No, I feel like, you know, I don't want to be critical of, you know, of course, fellow media, but you know, when you look at a newspaper and, you know, you don't see that coverage, you know, you're wondering what's going on here. But now, unfortunately, print is slowly, you know, diminishing, and you're seeing, you know, of course, everything going digital now, and it's online. So that this is, you know, this is where it's going to be. So, you know, look, if no one else is doing, I might as well step in and, you know, said, you know, fill that void or fill that gap. So yeah, no, definitely. I just have one or two more left. I was just, you know, let's talk about New Jersey basketball. Facing other schools within, I mean, of course, in the NJAC, and you even see it, the other Division One. I mean, just the growth of basketball in New Jersey itself, Coach Sipper. Can you talk about that? Yeah.
So the NJAC is brutal. It's been brutal since I played in it 15 years ago. You know, I tell the girls every single day, we will not go into it. You never go into a game and say, oh, we'll win this one by 20. You can top to bottom. It is brutal. And I think it's one of the top Division III teams in the country, and people don't realize that. I think New Jersey kids stay home. It's great basketball. Your family can come and watch you. That's how I try to sell what we have here. But, you know, one of his best friends, Tony Bozzella at Seton Hall, and to watch that program grow. I mean, they've got transfers from Mississippi State, UConn, and, you know, basketball in New Jersey is actually, it's really, really fun. You know, it used to be just kind of Rutgers was holding on to that for women. But it's really branched out, and it's really fun to watch these other teams. And now he lives in New Jersey, so he kind of understands.
Yeah, I've kind of gotten thrown in the middle of it, but you know, I broadcast the Seton Hall women's games, and you know, they get such great crowds. They've redone Walsh Gym.
Yes.
They have this huge video board now. They put I think it was like a $5 million investment into it. Coach Bozzella does such a great job there. They've been to the NCAA tournament a couple times. And you know, Princeton now is a top 20 perennial top 25 team in women's basketball. I personally lost to them a couple of times by about 40. So you know, I know how good they are, and it's just a state that loves basketball. So, you know, if I had to move here, at least that was a good reason.
You know, I didn't ask this question. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing it, I'm just wondering, like, because of both of you with basketball, IQs and minds, like, how that came together. I never, I'm just wondering
How we
about that.
met?
Yeah.
So it's actually funny. We always talk about this. When I was a Division II assistant at Holy Family,
Okay.
there used to be more tournaments for AAU, and I was
Yeah.
at one
I don't
in
even
Virginia. I don't even remember. It was very long ago.
Yeah.
And I sat next to him at a game. We were the only people at the game.
Yeah.
And I just had mentioned at the time, my uncle had been the coach of Syracuse. So I just had mentioned that, and he knew who he was. And he said he had a job opening. And I kind of was like, okay. Never saw him again. Then I started working for Pete Sinella, and Pete Sinella is really close with Phil. And we were all out recruiting, and we happened to meet. He said he had a funny story, and I wanted to hear it. So that's where I went.
I have a lot of funny stories,
Yeah.
but it's yeah, I mean, and then obviously we have so much in common.
Yeah.
I have so much in common with her dad. I don't know if there's a lot of father-in-law, son-in-law like us. But we're talking X's and O's, at the beach house.
My mom, it's 24/7. I feel bad for her.
And our parents are both so involved, and,
Yeah.
and even when I was coaching in South Carolina or in Maryland, my parents would come down from Long Island. All of our families were at the game yesterday, so there was just a lot of common ground there. But we sit around here and talk X's and O's, and
Yeah.
sometimes, and sometimes we just shut it off and don't deal with it at all. But
we just watched a HBO show because
Yeah.
we needed a break.
But there's a good balance. I think we watch every one of each other's games, even though we can't go to them all.
Yeah.
One of the best nights I've had since we've met is I got to be at her championship game when she won a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome to be at.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ups and downs. So we know what's going to happen. We know what we're going to be feeling.
But I think it's really cool too. Like, and I don't give him enough credit. My team will tell you too. I'm very rough on him, but he's a very smart basketball coach, and a lot of the things that I hated that he was doing, we have now done on our team. And, we run a lot of the same kind of stuff. It's a little different because we have a different type of players on our teams, but, I get ideas. I told him the other day, I have a game next week. Can you look at the film for them and help me out? So it's kind of cool that we get two minds to kind of look at things differently and break things down. And I think it's really nice. I don't think I could have married someone that doesn't know basketball because my family is basketball.
It's great. Both you guys are in an excellent, spot. I think for people who are wanting to break maybe into the coaching ranks, or maybe are just, say in their first, year, maybe, what your advice for people out there is.
Yeah, I'm first and foremost, I mean, you have to want to work. I think nowadays people just want things handed to them. You do need to start at a lower level in Division III and Division II. People want to just be handed a Division I job. I have a great assistant now, Maria Narduli, who unfortunately lost her job as an assistant at Concordia because the school closed. She reached out to me, and I explained to her what I can do for her. And, I think her career will flourish, for being at CMSV and then, kind of catapult her to the next thing. But first of all, you have to have patience. You're not gonna find that, high paying mid-major Division I job right away. It takes work. And it's more than just coaching nowadays. And I always say that we all needed to be, most of us are education majors. We all needed to be psychology majors. And you have to want to coach the totality of the student athlete.
Yeah, I think too. And just networking and knowing people, this year I have a really unique staff from all different parts, but I have Lauren Mincy on my staff, who was a WNBA player and played in 4 Final Fours. And, she's coaching Division III kids. And he said the other day, like, does she see like how different it is? And I go, no, she treats them just as she would treat anybody else. And, I think that really helps our program to have, we've had Division I stars, we've had Division III not so superstars, and I just kind of want good people around. I don't care where you've coached or what you've done. I kind of want people that are just good people. So I always say that too in my interview process when I'm looking for assistants, but it takes work. Yeah. Like you said, you got to start somewhere. I remember what I got paid at my first part-time assistant job. That wasn't a part-time job, it was full-time.
Yeah.
And I just did it because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So you've got to work your way up.
It's great. I think the final question, and I think you guys have the last word on this, is that Coach Cieplicki, what is your message to the Rutgers Newark, fan base out there, alumni, said locally, nationally, and of course, Coach Stern, said for the College of Mount St. Vincent, as well. I'll go ahead, Coach Cieplicki.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I really enjoy my team this year. So I'm really excited to see where we go, how far we go, what we do, what we accomplish. And again, we do have pretty much everyone back the following year too. So it's nice to have that group of girls around all the time. I love that. I love that we're back in the office. I love that I get to see them every day now. Our alumni, it's actually been really great. I don't think there was a big alumni base before I had gotten there, and now it's kind of grown. So, I got texts. I had players come to the game yesterday at his place because they knew him as well. And, it's so nice when those things happen and when they reach out for things. And campus, I think that the buzz is out there that games are open now, and I think it's nice that everybody gets to come back, but I'm hoping that we get some crowds there, where both the men and the women are away for like the whole month of November. Tuesday we play home, but then I think we're done. So we've really got to max out those home games and get everybody there. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's great.
And yeah, for us, I think, we're growing a whole department. Women's basketball is a part of that. Our men's soccer team's coming off an NCAA tournament bid for the first time ever. Yesterday, actually, I couldn't go because of our game. Both of our volleyball and our women's soccer team went to the semifinals. There's a buzz on campus about what we're trying to do with our athletic department, and our women's basketball team is certainly a part of that. We're very young. We have a long way to go. Our conference is different than Ashley's conference. We're like a level below that in Division III. So for our team, we're using this win actually as something that could catapult us and give us great confidence going into the Skyline season. And our alums have been great. We inducted an alumni into the Hall of Fame last night, and she had a bunch of friends at our game yesterday. And I think that we just preach that family atmosphere in everything that we do, and we know good things will happen.
Yep.
It's great. Okay. I know I said you had the last word, but if there's anything I've left out, you're more than free to add. I hope I asked all the right questions here.
Yeah, no, it was great. Just come to a game, come check out something.
Yeah.
We miss you. We haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you. Actually, again, a true honor and privilege, interviewing both of you, and, wishing you guys, rest of the coaching staffs, the team, the players, all the best in with the 2021-22 season moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.